We'll get started in a second, everybody. Again, my face you haven't seen in a while. We'll talk about it in a second. So hopefully you guys are doing good right now, man. It's been a heck of a ride these last couple months, and again, I do apologize for the lack of content and really the lack of anything on this channel. Really, let me just turn down the music a little bit for you guys so we can kind of talk a little bit more, be a little more personable. Just want to make sure that we're live on other platforms. Yes, we are live on other platforms. That is what I love to see. Okay. Alrighty. Hopefully you guys are, like I said, enjoying your Sunday night. I know that for NBA sports fans and people that enjoyed the NBA and love watching it, I know that this was a fun and exciting time to kind of commemorate what's been going on in the NBA off season, or I should say regular season. We have about 23 games left to play, and there's a lot of stuff to talk about. So before we get started on any of that stuff, please remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Again, all this stuff helps out the channel tremendously. It helps people let you know that we're interested in the channel. And again, I do apologize for the lack of no content these last couple months. Been dealing with some personal stuff, to be honest with you guys, that I don't want to get into on the channel here because it's not something that you guys are here to talk about. We're here to talk about sports, obviously. So just kind of dealing with that. And again, I do apologize that is honestly what's been affecting the channel for the most part. Pete has been hounding on me to get onto the channel, and I apologize to him as well. We've talked before, but I want to publicly say I'm sorry for not being on the channel as much. And again, I'd apologize to you guys. This is a channel meant for NBA basketball content, and the fact that there hasn't been a lot of it on here is disappointing in the fact that everything is controllable in my side of things, and it's just something that I need to do a better job of. Obviously, with basketball being over now for me, I can give a little bit more time to this channel and really what's been going on, talking about the NBA news and rumors and also basketball opinions. And as you guys can see here, we're about to talk about some really interesting NBA talk. I know that there were some big trades that kind of went down. I know that Kevin Love officially signed with the Miami Heat. I know that the LeBron James Lakers obviously got a little bit better with Rui Hachimura and, of course, some other players as well. From the Minnesota Timberwolves trade and got D'Lo on their team. So, but again, like I said, I do apologize to everybody that is a fan of the channel and has been subscribed to the channel for a long time now. I do apologize that we have not put out content because it's not fair to you guys that I've done this to you guys. So, yeah, it's just one of those things where I do apologize to the people that try to tune in and want to say like, hey, where's the content at? So again, I do apologize to everybody here, but nevertheless, let's get started talking about what's been going on. So without further ado, excuse me. The first thing we can talk about, of course, is the NBA All-Star Game. This, I believe, was probably one of the better All-Star weekends in a while now. I think mainly because I don't know if there was any expectations for me this year. I think a lot of the times I overanalyze or I overhype the basketball situations. When you overhype something for so long, it can come diluted at the end. The dunk contest was one of those things, early 2000s, it was amazing. Every year it kept getting better and better. And I think by the time the Blake Griffin dunk era kind of came in and kind of went, that to me is when the dunk contest went away a little bit. And then, of course, we had the Zach LaVine, Aaron Gordon dunk contest, and that brought it back up. But for the most part, it's kind of been a little bit mediocre to a little bit down these last couple years. But what I kind of liked about this year, you had Matt McClung win it this year. I thought that was a pretty good thing to see. I know that he's not an NBA player per se, but he's still pursuing a basketball career. And I think he's doing a great job of it. And it's just fun to see someone who has that dunk ability, someone that is who has that ability to dunk and do things like that. It's cool to finally see just that type of situation thrive and flourish, and that's something that I think the NBA world wants. And so I'm excited to see that Matt McClung won the contest there. And it looks like, hang on just one second, I did get a alert that we have Giannis Antetokounmpo will travel to New York on Monday to undergo further testing for his injured wrist. That's a developing story that just came in as of a couple minutes ago, so I'll just make sure to look up that as soon as we finish talking about the All-Star game and things like that. We will update you here on the channel. Don't you worry about that. But yeah, I think this was a good All-Star weekend. You know, Salt Lake City, not necessarily known for its nighttime afterlife type of thing. Nighttime festivities, you know, it's not really known for that, but from what the pictures I've been seeing and the friends that I have over there in the Salt Lake area, it was bumping. I think there's a lot of people that enjoyed that part of the Salt Lake City side, especially in Salt Lake. Anywhere else outside of Salt Lake, you're not getting that. So yeah, why not? Why not enjoy that if you can? But nevertheless, I think the shoes and stuff like that, I think everybody was enjoying that. I know that John Morant had a special pop-up shop where it basically was a big ice cube, and they were delivering or giving away shoes of the John Morants. I know those are going to retail for 110, so those are going to be cool shoes. Would be exciting to see how those play on feet. But we'll see when the shoes come out here in the Seattle area. Again, you know, they're not going to release anywhere else besides the Salt Lake area, and then, you know, John Morant giving them away. But nevertheless, again, All-Star weekend I thought was pretty good. You know, I'd give it a solid B if I had to give it a grade. I thought the game was good. I thought the All-Star night was good. I thought the Celebrity All-Star game was finally a good one. You know, DK Metcalf representing for the Seahawks, balling out on that sense. So I do appreciate that from the DK Metcalf side in the All-Star game. So it was a lot of fun to kind of see that and kind of know that that's kind of what's been going on for the weekend. You know, again, Jason Tatum winning the MVP by scoring 55 points, an NBA record. And that's just something that I think Jason Tatum's going to be doing a lot of, is breaking these records. And I think that's kind of what I'm excited about when it comes to kind of looking forward to Tatum and really the last 23 games of the NBA. I mean, this is a huge thing, you know, and we talked about before of the injury to Giannis Antetokounmpo. You know, he's going to go see a specialist about it. I mean, that's pretty big, especially if you think about, excuse me, especially if you think about, you know, where we're at in the standings. I mean, if I pull up the standings really quick, let me see if I can pull up the standings really quick. I believe they're a game behind, a half game behind the Celtics right now. Until this is going to be huge for the Celtics if Giannis is out, in terms of this is an opportunity to poach that and really take advantage of the fact that they are going to be without Giannis for a little bit. You know, I think the 76ers are obviously doing their thing in third place. The Cavaliers, I think, have kind of fallen off a little bit. I'm hoping they can kind of get back on their horse. And then the Brooklyn Nets, I should say. Sorry, not the New York Nets, but the Brooklyn Nets. We'll see what happens to them. I'm curious to see how that team will do. I know Cam Thomas is a bucket getter and everything like that. You know, Cam Thomas has now emerged as the guy there, especially with Ben Simmons, you know, not being fully 100% healthy. And then the pieces they got back aren't necessarily going to be pieces that carry them and propel them to keep in the top 5 spot. I kind of can see them falling off a little bit unless Cam Thomas can absolutely score a bunch of points. I thought Bridges was a great pickup for them. And I'm curious to see how that team kind of revamps and retools, especially without the 3 pieces that they basically gave away these last couple years to kind of see if they can win a championship. And yeah, I'm not too sure about that. I think that that's going to be a one where we have to talk about that a little bit with some other guys. I think Pete and Brad would definitely be perfect people to discuss that with. And one day, you know, we'll get together a little bit in the near future. I know that they have a lot of stuff going on, so that's why it's a solo stream tonight. But I think this gives opportunities to teams like the Heat as well and the Hawks to kind of make a push and see if they can get out of that hellhole, I would call it, to where you're the 8 seed, 9 seed, 10 seed. I mean, the 8 seed has to play in an extra game. You definitely don't want that to happen. And so I'm curious to see how that goes for them. And so, like I said, with Giannis being out, that could be a huge thing. But kind of going back to the MVP, sorry, not the MVP, but the All-Star game. I thought that this was a great game. This was another situation where, again, great entertainment, great stuff to see. Uh, Jason Tatum and Donovan Mitchell, especially in that third quarter, were just balling out. Um, I don't know if you guys were watching the game at all, but it was clear to see that those two guys were definitely the people stepping up in this game. Donovan Mitchell hitting three after three, especially in his hometown, or I should say his previous hometown of Salt Lake City. And then, of course, Jason Tatum just balling out and continuing to show why he is improving each and every year as a player. And I'm excited to see what happens to this team, especially with the Celtics moving forward, as we need these 23 games to keep the first place and really give ourselves a home court advantage throughout the whole playoffs. Because in the West, I think it's a little bit tougher as well. Um, you got the Nuggets at number one, Grizzlies at two. And right now, you kind of got the Warriors kind of teetering on that 29 and 29. I think it's going to be a tough one for them this to come back up unless they can make some miracle runs and really heal up. I feel like that's kind of their biggest issue right now is that they're not fully healthy. Obviously, with Steph Curry being hurt, Klay Thompson having injuries here and there that affect him as well. And this is going to be a very interesting thing. The Suns obviously got Kevin Durant. That was the big mega blockbuster trade that happened, obviously on the channel that we didn't obviously get to cover here. And I do apologize. Like I said, I keep apologizing because I do mean it, guys. Like it should have been a thing where we should have been on here a little bit more. And again, I will take full ownership and responsibility for that. But yeah, I think the Phoenix Suns are going to be a fun team to watch, especially with a healthy Kevin Durant, and they got to keep Chris Paul and Devin Booker and Ayton, and the only person you got rid of was Bridges, and that kind of sucks in terms of defense. But again, when you have three of the best especially two of the best scoring players in the league, I just don't think that you can't say no to that. And you can't be upset that you don't have extra scoring stuff. And so again, this is a video more so just kind of recapping the stuff that we missed here on the channel. And if you guys are in the comment section or in the YouTube section or the live chat, chat away what you guys think about what's been going on. Again, the Phoenix Suns are a fun team to watch. Without Kevin Durant, it's gonna be interesting to see when Monty Williams has his hands on Kevin Durant to see what type of offense they run, and I kind of want to see how they're gonna get Kevin Durant the ball and how it's gonna work with Booker as well. And that'll be an interesting one to kind of visualize and see. Somehow the Cavaliers are here in fourth. That can't be true. Let's make sure we refresh that. Somehow the Cavaliers are in fourth place here. Somehow. Let's see if we can get an actual NBA standings here. Okay. Yeah, here we go. Sacramento Kings in third place. You know what, Sean? I know you're not watching. I know you're in Hawaii enjoying a beautiful vacation. But if you do get a chance to watch this, and I'm not going to tell you about this video, I'm going to eat a little bit of crow with the Sacramento Kings. The Sacramento Kings are actually a lot better than I anticipated and really what I expected. I think the West is just really tough, and you can clearly see that with the records that most of these West teams have. One through, especially 2 through 8 are in the 30s. Like, especially, Memphis having 35, and the lowest team right now is at 31 with the Minnesota Timberwolves. This is going to be a very interesting situation to kind of see what is going to be going on for the Western Conference. Because, again, I think it's going to be super tight. The Grizzlies, I think, are going to be a clear 2. To me, it's going to be between 3 through 7 of who's going to take that third spot, because in the East, it's pretty clear to see who's going to be in that upper echelon. Whereas like the teams, especially if you look at kind of the 14 team, I just think there's a lot more battling going on in the West here. And so I'm excited to kind of continue to monitor the situation. Again, the Sacramento Kings, I'll eat crow, 32 and 25, doing absolutely tremendous things on the court right now. If I look at the stats really quick, this is just blatant stats, and this is, I think, per game. This isn't, I believe, teams. I think this is just total stats. Let me see if I can find the team stats, because I do feel like I need to owe an apology to this team, because I think that it is one of those things where they're playing tremendous basketball right now, and they're winning games that they probably, more than likely, I could say that maybe they shouldn't be winning, but at the same time, it's one of those things where, oh wait, we have it right here. But where's no, I need the stats. Player stats. Where's players? Let's go to points again. We can go to points per game. You know, De'Aaron Fox averaging 24. It's the bonus averaging 18, 14, 14. I mean, a lot of guys are scoring on this team. This isn't like a one-man show with De'Aaron Fox and everybody else kind of gets out the way. This is a pretty big, I would say a big accomplishment for the Sacramento Kings to do a good job of winning these games. And really, I want to take a look at their schedule that they've won. You know, again, up to this point, they've beaten some of the teams that they needed to. Obviously, winning against the Lakers, winning against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Again, teams that normally they would probably lose to in the years past. They're winning these games. I know that they lost to Phoenix, but they won against Dallas. You know, they kind of split a game series here. Again, these are some quality wins that they've gotten. And again, they put themselves in a perfect position if we look at the standings to be in that echelon of like, yeah, we could probably be a top 4 team with 23 games remaining. Again, barring any injuries, which I'm knocking on wood that doesn't happen, this could be a potentially dangerous playoff team and really a sneaky playoff team that could make some big noise. You know, if they're going to have to play the Mavericks, you know, that's going to be a tough one for Luka. And what goes on with that team. I know that they just added Kyrie Irving, another big trade. Oh, excuse me. That we probably need to talk about as well. I'll probably talk about it at a later date with Pete. But that's another big trade that happened as well that we don't really talk about. Like, that's a huge trade that we, like I said, we need to talk about here on the channel. Again, there's a lot of stuff that we missed over the past couple of days, or really months. But again, I think this is going to be a fun Western Conference and kind of seeing what's going to be going on there. Again, Pelicans are a good team. Again, they kind of struggle a little bit with Zion out. You know, they were a top 4, top 3 team. And with Zion out, it obviously hurts their offense and it hurts what they do. And I'm curious to see how they can kind of recover from that because he's going to be out for a little bit now because he, you know, has the hamstring injury. So that's a tough one for me. Mavericks, again, with Kyrie Irving, how are they going to handle that? How are they going to move forward? You know, does that propel them and do they re-sign him? That's the big question because Kyrie Irving can leave as a free agent this offseason. So that's something to monitor as well. Number 4 is supposed to be the LA Clippers. And that's, again, another team that is staying in the fray, even with a lot of their guys on load management. And again, Adam Silver talked about that a little bit over the break. To say, like, he kind of talked about that during the All-Star weekend type of deal. Hang on one second. I just lost my train of thought. Where are we at? Here. So yeah, I think the Clippers, again, another team that's kind of doing a good job of staying in the hunt and staying in the fray. And yeah, I think that's kind of it in terms of just kind of like recapping in about 14 minutes about what I think of the NBA so far. Again, I think the Nuggets are just too good, and this kind of goes into the other thing to talk about in terms of just like a huge couple months recap. Jokic is playing unbelievable right now. I mean, this guy is leading his team to, again, unformidable scenes, especially with some of his guys hurt and, you know, guys not really playing up to snuff. You know, Jokic is playing like an MVP right now. Again, it's hard because I know that there's going to be a fatigue bias. But Jokic is playing tremendously. And again, I want Tatum to win the MVP, and I'm a big Tatum guy, and, you know, I will always stand for Tatum. But you got to give it up to Jokic as well. I mean, he is balling out right now in Denver, and he's really carrying this team to their record that they have currently. And of course, that is 41-18. Again, it's tough to kind of deny their greatness in a sense because they're playing so well, they're playing tremendous, and they're winning games that, again, maybe they shouldn't be winning, and they're winning them. Whereas, you know, the Celtics, I think they're supposed to be winning all these games. You know, we have the best roster, we have the best team, and it's time to win a championship. I think this is going to have to be the year that we have to win the championship. To me, it's championship or bust. We can't just rely. We just can't rest on our laurels of, oh, you know, we'll take the 1 seed, and, you know, we're happy to be there for the championship. I really thought last year was our great opportunity to take advantage of that. And of course, you know, I've talked about it ad nauseum with some of the games. So, you know, there's a couple games in that Warrior series where we should have done a better job, but that's neither here nor there. You know, we've kind of moved on, maybe a little bit, but yeah, we moved on a little bit from that, and so I'm hoping that the Celtics can now that John Mazzulla has taken the interim tag off and is officially the head coach, I'm hoping that this can kind of finally be the year where the Celtics really take off and really propel ourselves to a NBA championship. And I think we can. And so let me know in the comment section down below, people, what do you guys think of kind of the recap that I just had? All-Star, NBA standings, MVP race. There's a lot of stuff to talk about, but so little time as of currently. Again, I will try to do a better job of kind of putting out a schedule. I'm going back, I think, to Sundays being the time where I will be doing some live streaming. I know that football season's over, so I think kind of like a mid morning live stream, I think would be a good thing for this channel, and then obviously putting out videos here and there. And when there's breaking news and I have the time and chance, I will obviously be here on the channel. And so again, we're on a little bit of a vacation here in the Seattle area, and so I need to start doing that. I need to start putting out content for you guys. So again, I do apologize that hasn't happened, and looking to change that moving forward. So please remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button if you're new to the channel. And let's kind of talk a little bit. And I know that I'm not going to be on here for very long, probably like 30 minutes, just because there's a lot of things to kind of talk about. But let's talk a little bit about the NBA won't be discussing expansion until after the CBA National TV Deals Agreement. This is, of course, relating to this story, of course, is relating to the Seattle Supersonics and the Las Vegas team that is rumored to be coming back. The NBA will continue to maintain the position that expansion will not be addressed until after the league finalizes a new collective bargaining agreement with the NBAPA, as well as the new national media rights deals within its broadcast partners. The NBA is widely expected to expand to Seattle and possibly Las Vegas or Mexico City by the end of the decade. There hasn't been any discussion on a recent expansion recently, said Adam Silver during his All-Star Game press conference. Where I've said before, because the topic comes up a lot, I would say mainly people asking me or other in the league about it, is that it is natural at some point that an organization expands. In the case, because we're both in CBA cycle and national media cycle, our current deals are up in 2.5 years. The view from our governors has been, let's figure out exactly what the new CBA looks like. Let's figure out what the new media deal looks like. Then let's talk about expansion. So inevitably, we will. There's no active discussion in the league office right now, but we'll turn back to it in a few years. And I think that this is such a disappointing thing. As a Seattle native and things like that, it is so frustrating to not have a basketball team and to drive 3 hours to Portland just to watch the Portland Trailblazers play. Again, a team that I like. I'm a big Lillard guy. I think Shaedon Sharpe has been actually really good. And so I have to eat a little bit of crow for you, Pete. Cheers to you. I do need to eat a little bit of crow for a guy Shaedon Sharpe. So I will obviously be maybe we'll talk about it again when he's on. But again, 3 hours to drive to Portland is not something I necessarily want to do. And with the new arena built, Climate Pledge, it's ready for an NBA team. The NBA just needs to already come to Seattle. I think it's about time that the culture here in Seattle has an NBA team to go to. You know, when I think about what cities have the best hoop culture, I know people talk about the DMV. I know people talk about New York, and I know some people talk about the LA, but nothing beats the Seattle area because of how close knit are the schools, like how close these schools are, especially in the 3A Metro League. Like these schools are close to each other. They're friends. They love each other. I mean, there's so much love here in the city for basketball, and the city is so tight and tightly knitted in terms of the fact that there's so many teams so close to each other that there's some rivalries, but at the same time, they love each other and they care about each other and they want to see each other succeed. And so to me, like when I look at all that, how can you not make a team come back to Seattle? I think that's ridiculous in my perspective. Again, I think Seattle needs a team. They're yearning for a team. And it's about time that the Seattle Supersonics came back and gave some hope to the city. I think that, again, we love our football. We love our baseball, especially you saw how the Mariners playoff went. Like people were about that. People were really rooting for the Mariners this whole time. And again, this wasn't one of those things where, it's just another Seattle. Like, no, they actually really care about their Seattle baseball. And I think the Sonics would be another team that the Seattle area would love. I think it's about time that the Supersonics came back. It's about time that we finally put to rest this like absolutely hideous story that we have of the NBA and how it got rid of the Supersonics. I mean, it was super frustrating to watch the documentary, to see it live, to feel it as a young kid, to see that this team went away so early. And in high school there was nothing to go to. I mean, I would have loved to go with my friends to a Supersonics game. Again, I love the Seattle culture of basketball here. Obviously, starting with Seattle Pacific, starting with Seattle U, UW, Gonzaga, obviously, on the east side of things. And just the high school basketball scene here is a tremendous scene. And again, a lot of guys care about each other and root for each other. And that's why I think that Seattle's ready for a basketball team. And I'm tired of the NBA making excuses as to why a team can't come back. I don't know if Clay Bennett is behind this and he's still aggro about it. He's still mad that he wasn't able to get his new arena or his new place, and he knew he wasn't going to get it. And it's just, again, just another thing to kind of talk about and listen about. But I think it's about time we stop listening and really start focusing on like how can we get to doing a better job at bringing team to Seattle and also Vegas or wherever else you want to put the team. I don't really care where the other team goes. Just one has to go to Seattle. That's all I care about. That's all we need. And so let me know in the comment section down below, people, what do you guys think about the story? As the CBA, they won't talk about anything until they've had their CBA deal. So let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys make of that? And on the topic of the NBA PA, let's talk about this as well, because I think that this is a very interesting storyline, because I think that this is one that doesn't necessarily get talked about. And I think it is an important story. Again, people on the YouTube scene and ESPN and Fox Sports, they won't talk about this. No way, no how. They won't talk about it because it's not an interesting story. It's not a LeBron James-led story. It's not a Giannis-led story. It's not a Luka Doncic-led story. But this is a story that could affect the future of the NBA and especially its veteran players. That is the NBA PA wants to protect jobs of veteran players if one and done is eliminated. If the NBA eliminates the one and done rule during its next collective bargaining agreement, the union would like to make sure that the sudden influx of young players doesn't result in the surplus of lost roster spots for veteran players. When this rule is changed, the first year where high school players become eligible to be drafted will essentially be a double draft with more second-round picks and undrafted players protected to make an NBA roster than in a normal year. This is something that we have to have a conversation about. Tamika Tremaglio said in our meetings today, we spent a lot of time talking about that. We recognize that we really do need to make sure that we have a structure in place if we're going to let people join the league at the age of 18. We also appreciate that there's a lot of benefits to having veterans who can bring those 18-year-olds along. And certainly anything that we want even considered, to be quite honest, would have to include that component that would allow veterans to be part of it as well. And I definitely agree with that. Again, I want people at the age of 18, if they feel like they're ready for the NBA, go ahead. But what I also want to have happen too is that if they don't get drafted into the NBA and they're undrafted or they're second round picks, I think that they should have an option to opt out if they want to and go play professionally overseas, go play in college, or go play in the G League. I just feel like those are kind of some options for me personally that I would love for these young guys to have, because at the end of the day, there's gonna be opportunities for them to come back into the league if it doesn't work out for them. This isn't end all be all. This is the final stop for them, because at the end of the day, as they get older, they will become stronger. They'll become better. And this league is this is a league where it's okay to be in your late 20s playing basketball, because that's when you're at your prime. I think what's different in other sports is that when you're younger, especially in other spots, I'm talking about football, especially, like, it's fine to be young because you need those young legs to, last a long playoff season. But veterans, I feel like, are such an important part for basketball because they can get those tough buckets that you need them to. And I think that this is important as well, because at the end of the day, owners are going to, the reason why this is in place is because we know that the owners, they're going to take a shot at some young 18-year-old if they feel like, okay, maybe this person can finally be the one that kind of sticks out. And if we let him grow and progress, maybe he can eventually be a good player, where the 28-year-old to 32-year-old is now kind of getting screwed in this sense, where now he kind of has to find a job somewhere else. Like he's kind of getting booted out. And I think that's the reason why in the first place that this rule was in place. And so I'm curious to see how they're going to agree to it in terms of what happens to those veteran roster spots, because again, it might be something where maybe a veteran contract has to be more than 3 years, maybe more than 2 years, because I just don't necessarily see a situation where these veteran players are going to agree to a sense where they're basically going to get caught out of the job market because there's an influx of new workers trying to enter in the market at a younger age. And again, when you're at a young age, there's more time for you to grow and have potential, and maybe something sticks finally. And that's the reason why you got to be careful if you are a veteran player for wanting this rule. Again, I want the best 18-year-old. If a LeBron James 2.0 is out there somewhere, or another player like Dwight Howard, I think it was another one as well. Like if those players are out there, they should be in the league. I think that there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. But I do think that there is some sense of pride and also a sense of smartness if they feel like they're not ready to just send them back to the college game or send them back to the pro or the G League game and let them grow and mature there. Because I think that that's kind of what the league needs to do, is that they need to not be, or these other leagues need to be like, well, if you got drafted, that means you can't join us again. Like, I just think that that's dumb. I hope the college system is not like that. And again, I could see a lot of people kind of foregoing and saying like, hey, I'm just going to put my name out there, see what happens. But I just think that that's dumb. I don't think that that's necessarily the right thing to do. And I think that they really need to talk to their agent and make sure that those are the right moves to make. Because again, I think that there is some potential in having veterans on your team, and having the younger players wait. Again, I'm not a proponent of this rule, because to me it's dumb, because basically you go to 1 year of whatever and then you finally go to the NBA at the age of 19. I think 18 is fine. It's just making sure it's the right person that goes to the NBA if they feel like they're ready. Again, everyone's going to feel like they're ready. Everyone's going to feel like, hey, like I did my time. I'm doing good. Like, yeah, I'm going to be wanting to play. But I do think that there comes a point in time where this is a grown man's league. This isn't a young kids league in a sense. The younger teams are doing a good job of winning. But look at when Curry and Klay Thompson and Draymond Green won their championships. They were in their mid to late 20s. Like they weren't winning championships at a young, like 21, 22 years old. So I think that's what people need to realize when it comes to this stuff, is that especially in the NBA, it's good to be a little bit older, because that's where your body, and that's where people finally get to be their best. And so I think for me, like, to kind of end on this story, I do think that it is important to have the veterans here, because they do provide such a tremendous, not only just like as a piece to win a championship, but also a tremendous person to kind of grow from, right? It's just like having a mentor. Like if CJ McCollum, let's say, let's go like 5-6 years down the line when CJ McCollum's like almost 38, 39, a veteran of this league, and there's a young 18-year-old player, like CJ McCollum can train. And the reason why is just because CJ McCollum's on my screen. CJ McCollum can mentor the kid and say like, hey, this is how it's done in the NBA. These are the do's and don'ts. And I think that could be a tremendous learning experience for any player or anybody that's trying to become a professional in the sport. It allows those guys to kind of grow and mature, and lets them become a special player and become good, solid role players, so that when they're the veterans, they can also pass that down as well. And that's something that I've kind of learned as, kind of working as a teacher, and, as a coach as well, is that like, it's awesome and it's fun to play and do those things ourselves, but it's even more fun, in my opinion, and it can be corny, and you guys can, have the corny police out. But I do think it's a lot of fun helping out the young guys kind of learn their craft and learn the way of the game, because I think that this is such a fun experience. I could see why teachers have so much fun teaching at times, obviously the good ones, the ones that care about the kids and want them to succeed, and want them to, pass on this sort of knowledge to the next generation. That's what it should be about. It should be about passing the knowledge and passing the tools and passing everything to the next generation so that they can do it better. I mean, you look at guys like Kareem, you look at guys at like Michael Jordan, like if you think about and Bill Russell and Will Chamberlain, like and again, those are just some names, but like you can see that the generation, that it goes to Kobe Bryant, and then Kobe Bryant leads this new generation of kids that have grown up with him, and now they're finally in the NBA. And obviously he passed away, which is so sad. But like they still have the instill of the Mamba mentality. I think of guys like Jason Tatum. Imagine 10 years down the line when Jason Tatum is 38 years old, and now he's like passing on this information to the next young generation. And that's the fun part about basketball. That's the fun part about life, is passing that information on. And I know that it's scary to get older, but at the same time, this is what it's all about. Like passing that information, passing everything along so that people can understand what it takes to be, uh, you know, seeing the next generation do something better with the new technology, with the new things that they have, rather than just being a hater or, letting them figure it out on their own, in a sense where, you know, people can make mistakes. And I'm hoping that, and people learn from that. And then you can teach someone, hey, these are the mistakes I made. Here's what you can do to correct them. And here's how you can get, not only just like playing in the NBA, but also the financial part of it and other things like that. I think that those are important parts to this. And so I'm hoping that, again, collective bargaining agreement, like let's keep these veterans in the league because they can do a much better job and they can really do a great thing for these young players. And so I'm hoping that that's kind of what happens. So let us know in the comment section down below. What do you guys think about our two CBA stories that have kind of popped up here? So let me know in the comment section down below. Please remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Alrighty, guys. I think that's going to do it here for the charge. Again, I do appreciate you guys for tuning on. I know it was a short 37-minute live stream, but it was kind of fun to talk a little bit about basketball. I know that there was no one really here in the chat, and it, understandably, haven't been on in a while, and it's also late. It's 9:18 here on the West Coast, obviously midnight over here on the West Coast or the East Coast. But nevertheless, please remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button if you're new to the channel. And again, I look forward to talking to you guys again relatively soon. No, definitely will be during the week, just because like I said, I have a break, and so I can go on live a little bit later on the day. But anyway, guys, like I said, my name is Bernie. Thank you once again for joining me here on The Charge, giving you the latest NBA news and rumors, and also basketball opinions.